guys, Josh here. So Roots of Pacha has been in alpha for almost a year now. I actually just finished my first in-game year. I played for about 25 hours and I wanted to give you my thoughts on the game so far as of version 0.6 of the game. As we now approach the beta version, which should become available from April 8th to everyone who pledged at the beta level on the Kickstarter campaign, and with a full release planned for the end of 2022, I feel like it's a good time to discuss what I like about the game so far, what I don't like, and what I'm hoping to see in the full release. Before we start, if you don't know what Roots of Pacha is, it's a Stone Age farming simulation game that is being developed by Soda Den and published by Crytivo. As I said, it's scheduled for a full release at the end of the year, and it will be available for PC, Mac, and most consoles. So far, I think most of what I like about this game revolves around the fact that it takes place in the Stone Age and it does it so well. So at first glance, it could seem like just a simple gimmick, just your typical farming sim, but with a prehistoric coating on top of it, but it's much more than that. Each part of the gameplay has been thought out carefully and designed in order to fit that setting, reinventing in many ways the mechanics that we're used to seeing in farming games. For example, instead of buying seeds at the shop, you have to go foraging for wild crops and get some seeds from them, and then you'll go back to your village where there are 2 fields you can customize. And also in most farming games you would start with a wide array of tools, but not in Roots of Pacha. So you start with a hand axe, which is a stone tool that's not very powerful, but it's extremely versatile and allows you to till the soil, cut grass, break rocks, cut trees, and even fishing. So you can do so many different things with just that one tool, and I found it very useful to have this multi-purpose tool as it limits the amount of times you'll switch between your different tools, and I think it also makes the game much more approachable to new players who are maybe not used to these types of games. You also start with a water skin, which is a small container made from animal skin, and that's what you'll use instead of a watering can at the very beginning of the game. And of course, later on you'll be able to get proper tools that will be a lot more efficient. The crops you'll get at first will be pretty low quality, but the more you harvest a certain type of crop, the higher the quality will become, and its appearance will also change into a domesticated version of the crop. So little details like witnessing the small, oddly shaped wild crops transform into beautiful, big, colorful and juicy crops is so satisfying. And of course, the better crops will be more valuable. People will like them more if you give them as a gifts. And also they're gonna fill your stamina a little bit more than the wild crops. You'll also be able to domesticate animals the same way eventually. For example, boars will turn into pigs and bisons into cows. But as far as I know, there's no breeding mechanic implemented into the game yet. So right now there's just the wild kind of prehistoric version of the animals. And getting animals is a bit more tricky than crops, because you'll first have to discover how to tame them through the ideas system. So that's one thing I really like about Roots of Pacha. In order to progress, you'll have to discover new ideas with the help of your clan members. Each idea will require some materials, contribution points, which is the currency, and a few in-game days. Some ideas include a sundial, which will allow you to see what time it is, because when you start the game, instead of seeing the exact time, it will just show like morning or afternoon. So once you discover the sundial, you'll have a proper clock. There's also a nursery, which will allow you to make your own seeds instead of having to go forage some wild seeds every time. And of course, there's animal taming and riding, allowing you to tame animals as well as ride them. In the different areas outside the village, you'll find animals such as boars, ibexes, guanacos, bison, ostriches, and my favorite, the mammoths. You'll first have to build a shed, which you can't move as of now, so I'm hoping that's something we can do later, as I don't like how I placed mine. Basically, you've got 2 fields and you can place 2 sheds, and I wanted to place my 2 sheds together, but I kind of messed up, so I have 1 shed per field and I don't like it. So hopefully later on we can move our buildings around. So anyway, you need to build a shed, and then in order to bring some animals to your shed, you will need to befriend them. So you'll have to talk to these animals every day, as well as play some flute for them until you get to 3 hearts. So when you play the flute, it's actually a little rhythm minigame, and it's pretty short. It takes maybe like 10 seconds to play the minigame, and while I do like the idea, I found it got very tedious pretty fast. And instead of trying to tame all of them, I would recommend maybe just focusing on 1 or 2 animals in a group that you want to tame. Otherwise, it's gonna take you a long time every day just playing the flutes. And also, as far as I know currently, so you'll see there's males, females, and babies. But since there's no breeding mechanics in the game right now, I've been focusing on just taming the female animals. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that your friendship with these wild animals will deteriorate over time. So if you want to tame one, make sure you go check on them as often as possible, because if you skip a few days, they're gonna be back to 0 hearts and you'll have to start the whole process all over again. And also, there's no guarantee that they will appear every day. So sometimes you'll go out and you'll try to find the ostrich you've been working on befriending for a few days, and it's not gonna be there on a certain day. So make sure you go out every single day if you don't want your friendship to deteriorate too much with the wild animals. Once the animals are finally tamed and they're living in your shed, they're actually very easy to maintain. You don't really need to feed them, but if you do feed them, you'll get extra friendship points. And your flute will cover a pretty wide area without the need to go through the minigame as previously. So you can just go in your barn in the morning, play the flute, and it's gonna increase your friendship with all of your animals at the same time. So it becomes really easy once they're tamed. And so you can just do that and you can talk to them and you can collect their products. So since it's still an early build of the game, a lot of the animal products right now, such as the fur, so there's 2 fur, there's the guanaco fur and the bison fur. I'm pretty sure they're useless for now, but I think they're probably gonna come in handy eventually. I don't know if we're gonna be able to make some clothes or maybe some furniture. Speaking of furniture very quickly, so you can actually customize your house in this game, and I don't remember how I got my furniture. So I've got 2 planters right now. I've got 1 little stool and 1 kind of table, but I don't remember how I got them, and I'm not too sure how you can have more furniture, but that's one thing I would really like to see. In the full version of the game, it's just more options to customize your house, because there's really not a lot of options right now, and I don't even remember how I got these, so hopefully that's something we can do later on. So going back to the animals, so the fur is pretty useless, but other things like the milk can be processed into cheese thanks to the fermenter. So there are a few items allowing you to transform things, like the tomatoes can be sun-dried and olives can be pressed into olive oil. But there's not too many things to do with those as of now. There are a few recipes, so you can cook in this game, which is pretty useful to replenish your stamina. So if you just eat the raw vegetables, they're not gonna heal you too much, but if you cook something, it's gonna replenish your stamina quite a lot. Also, speaking of stamina, one other thing I like in this game is that there's no combat. So you would think that the Stone Age would be a very dangerous period, but all of the animals are friendly, and there are other clans as well living in the wild, and we're gonna be talking about those a little bit later. But there's no danger in this game, so you can't die, there's no combat. And as much as I like combat, I feel like a lot of farming games recently are trying to cram combat systems into their game, and I think you don't need a combat system in every game. So I actually really like how it's done in Roots of Pacha, that you just have your stamina and you don't pass out. When you run out of stamina, it's just you can't do anything anymore and you can go back to sleep. So I like that you don't have to worry about dying and things like that. So I think it really makes for a chill and relaxing experience. So beside crops and animals, you can also do some fishing, and once again the developers managed to reinvent a system that tends to be very similar in most farming games. So in Roots of Pacha, you'll use your hand axe once again, but I think you might be able to have an actual fishing rod later, but it's not available in the game right now. And you have to, there's kind of like a little mini game, and you have to be sneaky and follow the fish until the green bars fill up. And then you have to left click and it's gonna catch the fish. And if you go too fast, you'll scare away the fish. And I have to admit, it is a bit confusing at first. I'm not sure I get it 100% still, but I think it's a pretty fun fishing mechanic. And I just like to see something different than what we're used to. And that's what I really like about Roots of Pacha. Everything deviates a little bit from the formula we're used to, and it makes the experience feel very fresh. We're getting so many farming games right now, and a lot of them feel kind of samey. They're all doing the same thing, so I like when developers try new things. And also, I gotta say, even though it's still an alpha version, which usually means lots of bugs and incomplete features, Everything that's currently in the game right now feels very polished. It looks good, it's snappy and intuitive, the animations are good, the UI looks good, and I have not encountered any bugs. So far, after 25 hours, so for an alpha version, I gotta say, that's really impressive. So I'm really having a good time with this game. There's not that much content yet. As I said, I talked about the decoration earlier. There's not a lot of furniture you can place. And I feel like after 1 year right now, I think I've done pretty much everything I can do. So I've got all of the tool upgrades. I've got my little house upgrade. I've got all the buildings and things you can do in the village right now. It's all done. So I wish I could just like decorate my house or do something, but there's really not that much I can do right now. But everything that I did in my first year felt very good. And yeah, everything is just so well done, and I always prefer quality over quantity. And speaking of quality, I would like to talk about little quality of life features and just tiny things that make this game even more fun to play. One thing that tends to bother me a bit in games with crafting mechanics is managing the inventory. You always end up with so many different tools that take like over half of your inventory space, plus you've got all of these different seeds, crops, items that you'll need for crafting, and like maybe some furniture, some paths or fences. And I always find myself with a full inventory because I just want to keep things on myself. I don't want to have to put things away every single time I do something. So that's a problem I have with a lot of games. However, with Roots of Pacha, I didn't have this issue. So what's happening is that your tools are actually carried in a separate part of your inventory. So they never take space that could be used for other items. There is like a toolbar at the bottom of the screen, like in many games, but there's one special slot dedicated to seeds and another one dedicated to tools. And each of them are associated with a wheel in which you can put like 8 seeds or 8 tools that you're going to be using the most. And you can change them at any time, as all the seeds and tools available in the game will always fit in that special space in your inventory. So you never have to worry basically about tools taking space or seeds taking space, and it's just so convenient. It seems like such a small thing, but I love having access to everything at all time. And I can keep my inventory space, even though it's quite small. Actually, I don't think there's a way to increase your backpack right now. But since I can just keep it for the things I forage and the crops that I harvest, I rarely run into inventory issues. And you know what? I think it's about time we start rethinking inventory systems in farming games, and Roots of Pacha is doing that. So I'm really happy to see it. Another little thing that I enjoy is the journal that helps you keep track of everything. For example, if someone is done researching a new idea, or if your upgraded tool is ready for pickup, you will get a notification to let you know. And it's just a tiny little thing once again, but it's just a nice quality of life thing. Alright, so now I've been talking a lot about the things I like, but no game is perfect, so now let's talk about things I don't like. As in most farming sims, Roots of Pacha has a relationship system, and in the current version of the game, so if you're watching, for everything I'm saying in this video, if you're watching in 6 months from the upload date, just take everything with a grain of salt because things might change as of version 0.6 of the game. So you can befriend other members of your clan, you can dance with them if they like you enough, and there are also members of other clans that you can interact with that are gonna live outside of your village. And I think it is necessary to befriend them in order to progress the story. But the problem is, at least my problem is, just like with the animals, relationships will deteriorate. And I know everyone plays differently, but usually when I play a farming game, for me I always put the farming first and the relationships second. So usually I'll talk to a few people here and there, maybe give them a gift every few days, and slowly but surely one day we're gonna be good friends with everybody. But I don't go out of my way to give gifts to everybody every day. I know some people can do it, but for me it just feels tedious. So far, I feel like I've been interacting with the characters quite a lot since I started playing, but I have not gained a single friendship point with anyone because I think it deteriorates way faster than I can maintain. So basically, I've been living in this village for over a year. I participated in festivals. By the way, the festivals are pretty fun. There's one of them where they play some music, and there's actually a rhythm game. I don't know if I do have footage for it. I don't think I recorded it, but it was really fun. So I'm looking forward to the other festivals. If they all have mini games like this, that's gonna be really, really exciting. So that's another good thing about this game. So anyway, so I've been living in this village for a year. I did festivals, I contributed to building new stuff for the village, learning, discovering new ideas, and providing food for everybody. I talked to them, I gave them presents, but still no one cares about me. I still don't have a single friendship point with anyone. Don't get me wrong, I think it's actually a really good idea to have friendships deteriorate after a while, because in other farming games, you'll get everybody to like 10 points and then you'll just stop talking to them because you don't need to anymore. So I think it's a good idea to have friendships deteriorate, but I feel like it just goes down a bit too fast and I'm never gonna be able to make any friends, which possibly might make me miss out on certain progress in the game. Because I think for certain ideas, you do have to befriend some people. And also it would be one thing if there were maybe 10 characters or maybe 20 characters to maintain relationships with. But this game has, I don't know how many characters, maybe like 40 or 50 characters. There's really a lot. There's really a ton of characters at the moment. And I can't even remember who is who. I don't know their name. I don't know where they live. And it's just a pain to try to find where an exact person is. Because you look at your map and you can see all the little faces. And if you hover over the faces, you can see their name. But if you're looking for a certain person, it's just a pain to find them. And knowing that if I ignore this person for a few days, they'll just forget everything I ever did for them. So it just really puts me off the whole social aspect of this game. And basically I just go back to working on my farm by myself, and overall I just feel very isolated from the whole clan and from everybody else. And I feel like it's kind of a wasted opportunity here, because this whole idea of like having a clan, growing and developing together sounds full of potential. But right now I feel like there's just too many characters, and of course I don't think they're going to be removing characters from the game. But for me, it's just too many characters and I don't know who is who. I don't know who to start with, and they're just too high maintenance to be my friends. So yeah, I feel like if you have a system in which the friendship deteriorates, there should also be a way to maintain your friendship easily. Maybe there is and I'm not aware. But I think something, for example, maybe at night you could go around the campfire and there will be an option to have dinner with everybody. And maybe time would skip by an hour or two. And your friendship would go up a little bit with everybody in the village, just enough so that it doesn't deteriorate. Just little things like that, like activities that you could do to maintain your friendships with everyone. I think that would be a good addition to the game. Or maybe you could even ask a friend to follow you around while you go foraging, kind of like in Rune Factory. So yeah, just little ways to maintain and increase those relationships without having to talk with 50 people one by one and give them stuff one by one every day. And if you skip a day, they'll just forget about you. I think it's a little bit too harsh right now. So I think that's really my main gripe with the game, the whole social aspect. And of course the game is only an alpha, so things may change, things will probably change. In the beta, we'll be able to discover irrigation, which will facilitate watering the crops. We're also going to be able to place paths, fences, and furniture all over the village instead of just in the 2 fields. We're also going to be able to get married, which will probably take me forever if they don't change how the relationships work. And there's going to be so much more stuff. There's also going to be new areas like a tundra, a volcano, an island. So I'm looking forward to what will come to Roots of Pacha in the next months. So I'm curious to know, guys, have you played Roots of Pacha? I know it's kind of a shame right now because if you didn't back the game on Kickstarter, you can't play it. And the alpha was actually quite pricey. It was like $75 US. And also, I think there's going to be more people playing the beta because it was a little bit cheaper. And yeah, as I said, at the end of the year, it's going to be the full release. So everybody will be able to enjoy this game. So let me know what you're looking forward to the most in Roots of Pacha. Are there things in the game right now that you really like? Or maybe things that you really don't like in this game? So let me know all of your thoughts in the comment. And please click like and subscribe if you'd like to see more content like this. And I'm gonna see you all in the next video.